Emotional intelligence, the blueprint for building strong relationships. Think of emotional intelligence as the essential, often invisible, operating system for all human interaction. While intellect, IQ, might help you solve a complex problem, emotional intelligence, EQ, is what allows you to collaborate on the solution, persuade others of its merit, and navigate the inevitable disagreements along the way. In relationships, its importance is magnified tenfold. At its core, emotional intelligence is the ability to perceive, understand, manage, and use emotions to facilitate thinking and foster healthy connections. This guide is broken down into 4 key parts: the 5 pillars of emotional intelligence, understanding the fundamental components, the EI relationship flywheel, how these pillars work together to create relationship momentum, a practical toolkit, actionable techniques to develop each pillar, EI in action, applying these skills in specific relationship contexts. Part 1, the 5 pillars of emotional intelligence. This framework, popularized by psychologist Daniel Goleman, provides a clear map for understanding EI. The first 3 are about your relationship with yourself, the self skills, and the last 2 are about your relationship with others. 1. Self-awareness, the foundation. What it is? The ability to recognize and understand your own moods, emotions, and drives, as well as their effect on others. It's knowing what you are feeling, why you are feeling it, and how it impacts your thoughts and behavior. Why it matters for relationships. If you don't understand your own emotional landscape, you cannot communicate it clearly. This leads to misunderstandings. You might snap at your partner because of stress from work, but be unable to articulate it, leaving them feeling hurt and confused. In practice, low EQ, your partner says something that triggers your insecurity and you immediately lash out with a hurtful insult. High EQ, your partner says something that triggers your insecurity. You feel a flash of anger, but you pause, take a deep breath, and respond with, "What you just said made me feel defensive. Can you explain what you meant by that?" 2. Self-regulation, the conductor. What it is? The ability to control or redirect disruptive impulses and moods. It's the capacity to think before acting, to manage your emotional state, and to stay calm under pressure. Why it matters for relationships? This is the pillar that prevents you from saying or doing things you'll later regret. It allows you to have a difficult conversation without it escalating into a yelling match. It is the pause between feeling an emotion and reacting to it. In practice, your partner says something that triggers your insecurity, and you immediately lash out with a hurtful insult. High EQ, your partner says something that triggers your insecurity. You feel a flash of anger, but you pause, take a deep breath, and respond with, "What you just said made me feel defensive. Can you explain what you meant by that?" 3. Internal motivation, the engine. What it is? A passion for work or a purpose that goes beyond money and status. It's the inner drive to pursue goals with energy, persistence, and optimism, even in the face of setbacks. In relationships, this translates to having a growth mindset. You are motivated to work on the relationship, not because you have to, but because you see the intrinsic value in a strong, healthy partnership. It's the resilience to keep trying after a conflict, and the optimism that you can solve problems together. In practice, after a big fight, you think, "This is too hard. Maybe we're just not compatible." High EQ. After a big fight, you think, "That was difficult, but it showed us an area we need to work on. I'm committed to figuring this out with you." 4. Empathy, the bridge. What it is? The ability to understand the emotional makeup of other people. It's the skill of treating people according to their emotional reactions. Crucially, it's not about agreeing with them, but about understanding their perspective. Why it matters for relationships? Empathy is the antidote to selfishness and the cornerstone of connection. It allows you to walk in another person's shoes and feel what they might be feeling. This validation is one of the most powerful tools for building trust and intimacy. In practice, low EQ, your friend is upset about losing a competition you thought was silly. You say, "It's not a big deal, just get over it." High EQ, your friend is upset about losing a competition. You say, "You put so much work into that. It must be incredibly disappointing to not get the result you wanted. I'm so sorry." 5. Social skills, the conductor's baton. What it is? Proficiency in managing relationships and building networks. It's the ability to find common ground, build rapport, and communicate clearly and persuasively. This pillar is the culmination of the other 4. Why it matters for relationships? This is where the rubber meets the road. It includes everything from active listening and clear communication to conflict resolution and expressing appreciation. In practice, during a conflict, you interrupt, use "you always" statements, and focus on winning the argument. High EQ, during a conflict, you use "I" statements, listen to understand, not just to reply, and work collaboratively towards a solution that works for both of you. Part 2, the EI relationship flywheel. These pillars don't operate in isolation. They create a self-reinforcing cycle, or a flywheel, that builds relational momentum. Self-awareness allows you to identify your feeling. For example, "I feel neglected." This triggers self-regulation. So instead of accusing, "You never pay attention to me," you choose a more constructive approach. Your internal motivation to maintain a healthy bond pushes you to engage, not withdraw. You access your empathy to consider your partner's perspective. They've been really busy and stressed out lately. You use your social skills to communicate effectively. "Hey, I know you've been swamped, but I've been feeling a bit disconnected lately. Could we set aside some time for just us this week?" This high EQ approach builds trust and connection, making the next turn of the flywheel even easier. A low EQ approach creates friction, resentment, and distance, making the flywheel grind to a halt. Part 3, a practical toolkit. How to develop your EI. EI is not a fixed trait. It is a set of skills that can be learned and strengthened. To build self-awareness, journaling. At the end of each day, write down what you felt, what triggered it, and how you physically experienced that emotion. For example, tightness in my chest or heat in my face. The emotional check-in. Set a reminder 2 to 3 times a day to pause and ask yourself, "What am I feeling right now?" Name the emotion without judgment. Seek feedback. Ask a trusted friend or partner, "In what situations do I seem most stressed or reactive?" Or, "What do you think is my emotional tell?" To build self-regulation, master the pause. This is the most critical micro skill. When you feel a strong emotional reaction coming on, consciously pause. Take one deep breath before you speak or act. This tiny gap is where you can choose a better response. Cognitive reframing. Challenge your initial interpretation. Is your colleague's short email a sign of anger, or are they just busy? "He hates me" becomes, "He might be having a stressful day." Know your triggers. Through self-awareness, you'll learn what sets you off. Plan ahead. If you know traffic makes you angry, have a calming playlist or a podcast ready. To build internal motivation. Connect to your values. Why is this relationship important to you? What kind of partner, friend, or colleague do you want to be? Write it down. When things get tough, revisit this why. Celebrate small wins. Acknowledge when you successfully regulate your emotions or have a constructive conversation. This reinforces the positive behavior. Practice gratitude. Actively focus on what you appreciate about the other person and the relationship. This shifts your perspective from one of deficit to one of abundance. To build empathy, listen to understand, not to respond. When someone is talking, quiet your inner monologue. Don't formulate your rebuttal. Focus completely on their words, tone, and body language. Ask clarifying questions like, "So it sounds like you felt..." Perspective taking. Consciously ask, "What might they be feeling right now and why?" Or, "If I were in their situation with their background and pressures, how might I see this?" Read fiction. Studies show that reading literary fiction improves empathy as it forces you to inhabit the inner lives and emotional worlds of characters. To build social skills, learn the I statement for conflict. This is a non-negotiable tool. To build social skills, learn the I statement for conflict. This is a non-negotiable tool. The formula is, I feel blank when blank because blank. Instead of, you never help around the house, try, I feel overwhelmed and unsupported when I see the dishes piled up because it feels like I'm handling all the chores alone. Give constructive feedback. Use the sandwich method, a positive observation, the constructive feedback, and another positive or forward-looking statement. Master the art of apology. A real apology has 3 parts. 1. Acknowledge what you did wrong. 2. Express remorse and show you understand the impact it had. 3. State what you will do differently in the future. I'm sorry I snapped at you. I know it was hurtful and unfair. I will work on pausing before I react when I'm stressed. Part 4. EI in action. Navigating different relationship terrains. In romantic partnerships, key skill, vulnerability, self-awareness plus social skills. True intimacy is built on sharing your authentic self, fears, insecurities, and dreams, and creating a safe space for your partner to do the same. Challenge, emotional bids. Your partner makes small requests for connection. Look at that bird. A high EQ response acknowledges the bid. Wow, that's beautiful. A low EQ response ignores or rejects it, creating distance. In professional relationships, key skill, influence and collaboration. Empathy plus social skills. Understand your colleagues' motivations and pressures. Frame your ideas in terms of shared goals. Navigate office politics by building genuine rapport, not by manipulation. Challenge, receiving criticism. A high EQ professional separates the feedback from their identity, self-regulation, gets curious about the critique, and seeks a path for improvement, motivation. In friendships, key skill, holding space, empathy.